It's time to talk about the elephant in the room when it comes to the F1 game. Is the 2026 DLC delayed? Because we have had crickets from EA. There have been no news updates, and we all thought by now there would be some updates because of what they told us in the last Podium Pass news article. I've seen some of my fellow creators discussing this topic. I thought I'd let it marinate a little bit for a couple more days, but we've still not heard anything over the course of the IRL 2026 race weekend. So do we have to come to terms with the fact that this DLC might be delayed? There was no official date set, by the way, but based off this news article, January 7th, for the last Podium Pass, which was Season 5, we thought that we would at least hear some details by now about the DLC. Maybe not the release date, but just some details at least, because at the end of this article, which, by the way, Season 5 Podium Pass ended March 3rd. It refreshed on March 4th. As I post this right now, it is March 10th, the week after the season pass refreshed. But for that previous season, this was the article, and it said a look to the future. Obviously, they announced end of last year about the fact that there would be no new F1 game. There's going to be a 2026 season update, DLC, and they are, putting attention to an all-new rebuilding for 2027. But as we approach the hotly anticipated real-world 2026 season, we'll be sure to share in the excitement and reveal more of what's to come alongside Season 6. Alongside Season 6. Now, Season 6 began March 4th, and I speculated, with the way they were talking about announcing something alongside Season 6, maybe they were going to work it in to the Podium Pass ending, basically. I thought maybe, okay, if we look at the gap between Jan 7th to March 3rd, if we apply that again to March 3rd, March 4th and onwards, the next Podium Pass, Season 6, would end at the end of April, I believe. And maybe if they're going to talk about the DLC alongside Season 6, therefore the DLC might come at the end of Season 6, at the end of April into May, potentially a bit earlier than we've had a full F1 game release, as the full F1 games for the last 2 years have been releasing like end of May, like last week of May for F1 24 and 25. I think 24 was the first game that did that. But lo and behold, we come to this article, March 4th, for Season 6, which, by the way, was just shadow dropped, like in the middle of the late evening. Like, EA did tweet about the patch going live. This was March 2nd, so on the Monday, they tweeted about the patch notes. The patch notes, though, are very far in between just Season 6 coming from March 4th, and some tiny changes, and that's basically it. The rest of this is like at the end of every article. So that was it. And there was no actual official tweet for Season 6 dropping as an update, whereas if I scroll not too far back, we've got kicking off 2026 with the Season 5 update. So they did a full post for the Season 5 news article. They even had this very nice graphic going on for Season 5. It's the same one they use here. But there was no tweet at all for Season 6's news article. It still not has been tweeted. There was just a shadow drop of the article. And very strangely, the article, well, to my mind, it's weird that there's no photos to accompany it. There's an air of it being a little bit of a rushed together thing, because maybe they weren't planning on it being this way, or I don't know. Maybe I'm picking at straws. I'm thinking way too much into it, but you got to give me some slack. We are in the absolute, pit of the low point of the F1 game cycle. I am clutching at straws at anything to give you guys in terms of news to talk about, and to get excited for the next game cycle, which is a DLC cycle. But yeah, prepare for the new era with Season 6. Road to 2026. That sounds quite promising. Road to 2026. Road to the 2026 DLC. That sounds quite promising. But then you see this. Podium Pass Season 6. March 4th, not till end of April, till June 3rd. So a whole month of May plus 3 days of June is when the Podium Pass now goes to. That doesn't follow the pattern of every other Podium Pass that has come before it. So that has got people speculating that if indeed our hunches were correct that they're going to line up the DLC with the end of season 6, that maybe the DLC has been delayed till June 3rd. Obviously, that could be completely incorrect. I'm posting this video 10th of March. Maybe tomorrow. They like to do news articles on Wednesday most of the time. Maybe tomorrow they announce the release date and it will be in May, like, May 25th. Because if it was like end of May, that would line up with F125, the full release, and F124, the full release. That's also a very valid release date. But the reason why a lot of us thought end of April was because of the way the podium passes would line up. And there was a theory that basically it makes sense maybe to refresh the podium pass and then kind of, here's season 7 of the podium pass. Now venture into the DLC for the first time. Here are some new scenarios with the 26 cars. So that's why the theory was there. Obviously, that could be completely, just wrong, and that they were always going to release it at the end of May. And so this Podium Pass means nothing in terms of the timing. But this discrepancy in the Podium Pass stuff was pointed out by at F1 Games News. With you can see the date difference of the span basically. So it's the longest ever Podium Pass season that's lasting 3 months. So maybe the speculation is the DLC is now going to drop June 4th. Now, why would that maybe happen? Has there been maybe some complications with how complex the 2026 regulations are? We all saw it in real life. The battery stuff is very complex, and maybe that needs more time to implement properly, or in the way that we're seeing it in real life. Maybe there was some new data that came from testing, and that threw a curveball into how they thought the battery worked and the new formula works, and they maybe made a misstep and they need to change things from the testing data they got from the teams, because the teams will supply them. Well, at this point during testing, the teams probably sent them CAD data to actually make the car models first of all, but then with that they could do their own analysis of all the stuff they were seeing in testing. So maybe that's a reason why it's been potentially delayed, or why we've not. The reason why I say I think it's been delayed is because I just find it odd that we've heard nothing when they said there would be some news. Obviously, the language, though, is very specifically vague. It says alongside Season 6, not at the start of Season 6. So, well, like I said, it well could be tomorrow and they drop some news. Next Wednesday, they drop some news. And it's still alongside Season 6. So this is just really quite speculation, but it's off the back of fellow creators, Tom97 especially, one of my mates, speculating about that and making some very good points in his video, which you should go check out, because he goes more into depth. I'll just summarize the fact of it's such a complex formula and it's a big task. I still think this is a great year to do a DLC, because I don't think as many people would have been excited about a DLC for 2025 cars off the back of 2024, because the cars hardly changed looks-wise, shape-wise, whereas this is a big change that would get people to actually want to get a DLC for last year's F1 game. But at the same time, yeah, it is a lot of work to put in for a DLC, and maybe they've been sidelined a bit by how complex things are. Also, I will say a point that I've recently thought of, which is why I wanted to wait until after Australia, is now we're hearing IRL that as early as Japan, or maybe just after Japan, because we may not have the Middle East races, so there may be a break where the FIA can tweak with things. But apparently, maybe the FI are already looking at tweaking some things when it comes to the, bringing down the amount of deployment the cars can do from, I think, 320 it is to 250, to try and help the super clipping problem we had in Australia. So maybe it's also communications like that, or murmurings like that, that Cody's and EA got early on in testing about the FI maybe changing things. Maybe they think, okay, in order to deliver as realistic as possible, simulation of the battery and everything that comes with this new formula, maybe we need to delay it to see what F1 does and then accordingly do that. Because, yes, it's never going to be a full simulation. It's going to be a little bit of, patchwork in the same way as ERS has never maybe been one-to-one as it is in real life to the game. In the last couple of years, it's been a gamified version of ERS, simplified in areas where it's near enough and it looks like it does on TV. But the way it looks like on TV now, off the back of Australia, is very complicated. And if they're going to change that from Japan onwards, i.e., a race that's coming before the DLC might drop, end of April, end of May, then they need to change that. They need to get that right, because you can't have the DLC launching and it's actually now different to how the sport is going to be from Japan onwards, basically. So that's also, in my mind, maybe a caveat of another reason why there could be a delay on top of just the fact that it's quite a complex thing to get right. But we could all be completely wrong, and there's going to be news dropping tomorrow. There's going to be news dropping next week. So you never know. And Alexander Albon dropped this little nugget on his Insta dump. So this is him, I believe, getting a face scan for the 2027 game. I don't think they're going to be doing new face scans for the DLC. I think it's going to be the exact same face models as F125. That, to my knowledge, there are no new drivers being added to the 26 DLC apart from Arvid Lindblad, but they already have his face scan because they scanned him for F2 in F125. So they already have Arvid's face scan. And I don't believe the DLC involves updating F2 or F3. So I don't think there's going to be any face scanning updates for the DLC. So I think Alex Albon's face scanning here is for the 2027 game. And it seems like it's using the latest EA tech that they use for FC. So in that realm of their scanning stuff for 27, that's also the opposite end. For me, that's promising then that, okay, if they're doing face scans for the 2027 game in Australia, then maybe they're fine with the DLC. They're already shifting focus to 2027, and maybe it's just a case of they've changed tactics. Maybe they had a marketing meeting and thought, we need to change tactics a bit of how we market this, and so let's not start the marketing too early. With the coinciding of season 6, maybe we should delay it by a race or two just to see where we are with F1 itself. Just maybe reasonings, I don't know, like EA have above Codemasters, basically. So, yeah, it's a topic that it's a very small hunch topic. There's not actually a lot of cold hard facts to go about it. But I felt the need to make a video of it because, well, very, very thankfully, a lot of you guys, and I'm very, very lucky for it, come to me for your main source of F1 game news, and I'm very, very appreciative of it. And like I said, fellow creators had already made videos like this last week, speculating about this off the tweets from F1 game news, the dates announced for season 6, and I was reading all of this last week, especially the article, seeing it shadow dropped in the evening. I just felt like something was up, but I just wanted to wait over the race weekend just to also see how IRL F1 went, because I had a hunch also maybe there would be this talk about the sport changing already a little bit with the regulations, maybe with the battery and stuff, and maybe that could play into the reasoning. So, yeah, let me know what you make of it. Do you think the theory that it's been delayed is on? Do you reckon we're all reading too much into it and they might just drop news tomorrow, next week, who knows? And let me know about the whole theory about maybe the rules changing slightly from Japan onwards, if you think that could be a factor, because I think that's actually quite a small, tiny, important detail that I actually think really would genuinely make a difference to when they drop the DLC, wanting to get that right for it. So yeah, the elephant in the room has been discussed. Maybe the 26 DLC is delayed. And I'm not going to lie, guys, if it is delayed, if it's not going to be in even May, if it's going to be till June, let me know what you guys might want to see, because honestly, I didn't plan my content for June 3rd. I didn't plan to still be making videos with the regular 25 series till June 3rd. So I've been thinking about maybe, maybe you guys might like some retro seasons, on some older F1 games, or some proper old F1 games, or just some of the the previous ones the last couple of years. I don't know, or just one-off videos, things you might want to see. I know people have been asking for a Survive episode, and that will be coming at some point soon. But yeah, that's definitely thrown a curveball for myself and then maybe other creators that were very specifically planning their content schedule around certain dates that we were seeing in the Podium Pass, i.e. Jan 7th to March, March to April, and now it's April to June 3rd, apparently. So, yeah, March to June 3rd. So, we shall see. We shall see. As ever, though, I will try my best to bring weekly entertainment for you guys. And as ever, as I said, when the news breaks, whenever it is, I will be here. I will be here no matter what. So, guys, hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I'll catch you around. Goodbye.